love the way you guys play, man. You guys look like you're having fun out there.
Imagine a blockbuster trade sending Giannis Antetokounmpo from Milwaukee to Golden State. You know, there's been a lot of buzz lately about a potential move being made this summer. Now that the Bucks' future is in deep jeopardy, things are getting real interesting. We're going to break it all down in this video. The reports, the subtle hints, and what a trade could actually look like. Let's get into it. According to Shams Charania, Giannis is open to exploring the possibility of playing elsewhere for the first time in his career. And honestly, this doesn't come as a surprise, not when you look at the bigger picture. After the season, the Bucks waived Damian Lillard, stretching out the remaining $113 million of his contract for salary cap purposes. He has since signed a 3-year, $42 million deal with Portland. That move was part of Milwaukee clearing space to acquire Miles Turner. They barely have any draft capital to work with, and the roster emphasized. It just isn't good enough to win a title. 3 straight first-round exits, despite Giannis wanting more rings. That's when the Warriors come to mind. Even though they were knocked out in the second round this year, you could argue that with a healthy Steph Curry, they might have reached the finals. And Giannis, he could be the missing piece. He solves most of their current issues: lack of interior presence, aging core, no elite athleticism at the 5. They're running a 35-year-old Draymond Green at center. That's not a long-term solution. Curry and Butler don't have many years left. Giannis can come in and relieve the load. In a system full of shooters, he'd finally have the space to attack or kick it out to the perimeter. Golden State could even help fix his shooting mechanics. He's a career 60% free throw shooter, and his form has a noticeable hitch, something that could definitely be cleaned up. Now, about his relationship with Steph Curry, they've shared mutual respect for years. They're both represented by the same agency, Octagon, and Giannis has openly praised Steph. Steve Kerr recently said that Kuminga isn't part of their long-term plans, so Kuminga would likely be the centerpiece of a trade. The Warriors could re-sign him and then move him in a sign-and-trade. He already has a good relationship with Doc Rivers, so a fresh start in Milwaukee makes a lot of sense. Add Brandon Pajemski, Moses Moody, and 2 unprotected first-rounders, 2026 and 2028. And now, it's real. Those picks? They're valuable. Let's not forget, Milwaukee is stuck. Kyle Kuzma might be their second option, and that's a huge red flag. Is a Giannis trade request still possible this summer? And well, it's the modern NBA. Anything is possible. This league operates less on logic and more on the whims of its key stakeholders. If Antetokounmpo decides tomorrow that he wants to be traded, he could absolutely still make that request in August or September and open the 2025-26 campaign on another team. However, we should acknowledge that a trade request at this point in the calendar, while technically feasible, would be woefully impractical. There's a reason most major NBA trades happen in February and June. That's when they're designed to happen. League rules, intentionally or not, tend to cluster most major transactions into those 2 windows on the calendar. June, or depending on circumstances, early July, is usually the easiest time to make a major trade. It's when rosters are at their most flexible. That's true in a literal sense. Roster size limits are increased to 20. But it's also true in a functional sense. Teams haven't committed resources yet. They haven't signed their mid-level or minimum salary free agents. They haven't brought back their own players on expired deals. And they haven't committed the players they do have under contract to separate trades yet. They're set up to build around whatever players they actually have traded for. Take the Houston Rockets as an example. Had Antetokounmpo made his intentions clear at the beginning of the offseason, trading for him would have been relatively straightforward. Houston had a big expiring contract in Fred VanVleet on a massive $45 million trade exception. They also had Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks as players to dangle, since they hadn't been sent to Phoenix yet. Jabari Smith Jr. hadn't signed an extension either, which means he wouldn't have been subjected to a poison pill provision in his new deal. If Antetokounmpo asked for a trade tomorrow, Houston would have a much harder time constructing a package that works financially. Fred VanVleet cannot be traded until October 6th. Jabari Smith Jr. can be traded, but he counts as less outgoing salary for Houston. His current $12.3 million deal than he would as incoming salary for Milwaukee. $22.3 million, the average salary on his new extension. Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks now play for another team. And Houston? They likely wouldn't want to give up Kevin Durant in a deal. Sure, Houston could construct a trade with other pieces, but doing so becomes significantly harder. The Rockets surely would have prioritized Antetokounmpo if they had known he'd be available. But since they didn't, they prioritized other business. And versions of this situation are true for most other pursuing teams. February makes more sense then, right? Well, potentially. Teams can usually find a way to make a deal, if they work hard enough. But in-season blockbusters are tough. The 15-man roster limit doesn't help. And to match a salary like Antetokounmpo's, you often need to stack multiple contracts. That means including third teams, clearing roster spots, and sometimes paying others to cooperate. Let's go back to Houston. The Rockets are hard-capped under the first apron because they used the non-taxpayer mid-level exception on Dorian Finney-Smith. They've only got about $1 million in space to work with, which makes a Giannis-level trade nearly impossible right now. That's why May, June, even early July is the ideal time to request a trade. That's when teams are flexible, before they've locked in rosters, before the cap gets tight. And don't forget, Antetokounmpo will enter the final year of his contract ahead of the 2026-27 season. He could dictate his destination by then. No team is giving up serious assets if they know he'll just leave in free agency. So the later he waits, the less a team might have to give up. That might even be his strategy, letting time lower the asking price. Take the Lakers right now. They only have one tradable pick, 2031, but next summer, that jumps to 3. Add a sign-and-traded Austin Reeves to the mix, and suddenly the Lakers have a plausible path. Of course, this wouldn't be a fair return for Giannis now, but if he's on an expiring deal, he holds all the leverage. And if his preferred destination is a team like the Lakers or Knicks, timing becomes everything. That's what's so strange about this whole saga. A trade request from Antetokounmpo is entirely plausible. His best teammate is Miles Turner. The Bucks don't control their own first-rounder until 2031, and they've got $22 million in dead money from waiving Lillard every year for the next 5 years. If Giannis really wants a second ring, changing teams may be unavoidable. But this current moment, it's the worst time on the calendar to make a major move. If someone wants out, they either act before free agency or wait it out and strike next summer. So why are we still hearing about all this in August? It's probably a mix of things. The simplest? Wishful thinking. Most of the league wants a shot at Giannis. Some teams would prefer that chance come sooner, not just to land him, but to beat out those big market threats like the Lakers or Knicks. The Lakers are still a year away from making a serious offer. The Knicks can't move Mikal Bridges until late January. So what do? They may be leaking signals to the media, hoping to stir the pot in Milwaukee, just enough to cause an early season implosion. The worse the Bucks look early on, the more likely Giannis asks out. Or, this might be coming from Giannis's camp itself. If his goal is to win in Milwaukee, he might be pushing the front office to flip their last remaining draft assets. A 2031 or 2032 first and a pick swap into win now help. But the Bucks may be hesitant. What if that move fails and they're left without Giannis and without future picks? We don't know for sure. What we do know is that every team in the NBA wants Giannis Antetokounmpo. And since he's ineligible to sign an extension this year, these rumors aren't going away anytime soon. Unless he comes out and says, "I'm re-signing with the Bucks, I'm retiring in Milwaukee." That would end the story right there. But so far, he hasn't. He's watching, evaluating, waiting. And sometime soon, he'll decide what comes next. Let's bring it back to the Warriors. Giannis would fit there perfectly. He's the one who could give Steph and the Golden State Dynasty one last shot at a last dance. And that would be special. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.